Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster out here on this New Year's Eve, at least still here in California. Not quite 2024 yet. It's about 11 o'clock here. Last day of 2023, about 11 p.m. here. Happy New Year's to everyone out there. Thank you to everyone for making this year a very successful year for the channel here, reaching 100,000 subscribers earlier, a couple months ago here. Only onward and upward from here, right? Latest activity shows a 1.5 into the California area. Now, we did have, goodness, we had the sun sparking off a major X flare earlier today, the last day of the year. Can you believe that? And the sun wants to participate in some of the fireworks. I've been hearing quite a bit of fireworks out here in Northern California right now, so I'm sure you will hear some in the background as I'm doing this update. Now, this is the latest CME potential impact from that X flare that kicked off there. Now, the X flare sunspot region is on the far eastern limb, but according to this latest model, we could see a Earth-directed impact from that X flare that kicked up there earlier today. And that is according to the NASA model. This is from spaceweather.com. There is the X flare that sparked off earlier today, making that the strongest flare in solar cycle 25, an X-5.0 to be exact. Goodness. It also did create a little solar tsunami. You can see that little wave traveling here across the eastern limb of the sun. That was a very, very powerful X flare today. And in fact, if we go looking at the top 50 X flares here, at least in somewhat record keeping out here since about June 1996, the X 5.0 that we've seen today is down here a little bit. X5. So we have seen numerous larger flares in somewhat of the recent past. And of course, a few of these did create some, some issues here on Earth. I can't remember exactly which year it was, but in X40 back in 2003, I think we had some electrical grid issues up in Canada, if I remember right, from that activity. But either way, it's a very strong solar flare that kicked off here today, and the potential, I suppose, is still up there. Looking at a 95% chance for a C flare, M flare at 50, X flare around 10% chance or so. And the culprit of this very strong X flare is over here, number 3536. Now, this is our former regional sunspot. What was the number called? 3514 was the former sunspot number. So this is coming around for a second round here, looking at the Earth-facing side of the sun here. So second time coming around, and it looks like things want to remain active. This is a very large sunspot region. Of course, this is the area of interest. Noticing quite a bit of complexity here within the core of that sunspot that does harbor some further strong flaring potential. So we'll keep an eye on that. There is that major X 5.0 flare peeking out earlier today. Goodness, it created a pretty nice radio blackout as well on the sunlit side of the Earth, affecting quite a bit of, navigation systems here, where that major radio blackout was taking place. Since then, looks like we've seen a little bit of C-flare activity. There's a little bit of C-flare movement following that X flare. So we'll continue to watch that maybe for some further flaring. Although it looks like I said, it's on the second, right? Potentially here on the 2nd, January 2nd here, a G2 class storm, geomagnetic storms are possible when the CME arrives. So just a heads up, things could be getting rather interesting here. It is a decent CME, very high speed from that X flare, so we'll have to watch that. Earth here is in the yellow circle. It would definitely be Earth directed, right? It looks like all models kind of pointing towards getting a pretty good hit from that X flare and the subsequent CME. So we'll continue to watch that and report back as we get a little bit closer to the second time period, which is only in a couple days. So this is a very fast-moving CME. Earthquake activity starting up here in the Iceland area. We are seeing somewhat of an uptick up here across the northern area of the globe here, north of Iceland, north of Greenland as well here. And of course, we did have some divergent boundary activity out here in Iceland itself. It doesn't look like it stirred up anything here on the map. Let me bring that back up here real quick. This is the Iceland earthquake activity here in the last 12 hours. It only shows about 14 earthquakes, so most of the movement happening north here. And again, we did have some smaller activity in the last 24 hours, but it doesn't look like things have been affected here across the area of Iceland in terms of volcanic activity. Grindavik here, only a handful of smaller earthquakes there across the region, not seeing any major changes there. Obviously, if we were looking at the potential of an immediate eruption, we would see elevated earthquake activity, and it's just not happening right now. But again, don't let your guard down. 2024 could be starting off here with a bang, literally. Northern California, getting some activity out here in Reno once again. Got to pay attention out here. This swarm is into roughly about the third day, well, second or third day here. We're coming up on a total tally of over 100 earthquakes here in the Reno Sparks area. And maybe the news stations out here are kind of covering it. Maybe they're not. Most of the news stations will cover something that activity maybe someone felt. Obviously, nobody's feeling these smaller quakes, but there's got to be a reason behind 100 and something earthquakes out here in the last couple days, right? This area can see some mid-6s, upper 6s out here in terms of magnitudes. It's been a little while. I think the last one was around 1914 or so. So we're looking at over 100 years of potential built-up strain out here. Not for sure which... You guys hear that? Goodness, those are some good ones. Some deep, loud fireworks out there. They're kind of off in the distance. I'm sure some will kick up here closer and scare the heck out of me. I do have the window open, so you guys will probably hear it. But we do want to watch this area pretty closely. It is showing some elevated movement specifically in this area. Potential fault systems out here. Could be the Mount Rose fault or maybe a couple other ones up here north. But we do know historical activity tells us that there's been some larger movement out here in the recent past. So just a heads up. Stay safe out there and watch that pretty closely. Over here across the coast range of 1.6. Southern California lighting up here mainly across the coast range. Now it's a little interesting here away from the plate boundary. So we will watch inland areas along with this activity here. Latest activity looks like a 2.8 north of the San Luis Obispo area, north of Santa Maria. It is on one of these fault systems up here, a little coast range fault. Los Osos fault, looks like. The Irish Hills section. California is riddled with many fault systems out here, and many of them are well overdue, including, of course, the San Andreas fault here, the plate boundary itself. So we got to watch that when things are on the uptick out here. A couple other ones here around the region of Ventura and north of Oxnard area. The southern branch of the San Andreas Fault looks pretty quiet for now, but that is a sleeping giant. Quietness is good, but this thing could definitely pop at any time. So we got to watch this pretty closely. Very capable of producing an 8.1 magnitude earthquake. For now, it sleeps. Pacific Northwest, a handful of smaller earthquakes up there as well. Pecos, Texas out there, still seeing quite a bit of movement out in the oil fields. And one earthquake out here near Smiley, Texas. You guys already know what's out there. Well, let's zoom in here on the Google Earth view, or at least the Google Maps view. Yeah, there's quite a bit of oil pumping operations out here. These are all little stations with a lot of tanks on them. And, earthquake activity, along with all these pumping operations out there, go hand in hand. Let's see, the Big Island, Hawaii here. This is a volcano been kind of watching out here in the Kilauea area. Still seeing some movement here in the last 24 hours. The latest one shows a 1.7 here on the southeastern rift zone. This has been showing a little bit of movement out here. I'm still leaning towards some fissure activity opening up here south of the crater region around the 1974 vents out here in this specific area where most of the earthquake activity has been confined to. But that I'm just kind of basing that on my own observation and own understanding. We're looking at elevated tremor, or not tremor activity, but elevated inflation here across the Kilauea volcano. Let me bring that up and show you guys UWE. We're on the uptick once again here in the last 12 hours or so, taking a sharp turn upwards. And obviously that is inflation. That's the last 2 days back there, but this is the last 30 days starting to go back up here. We're still at a very high level of inflation there. And I think, well, you know, who knows exactly when we're going to see this kick off. It's just a matter of time. I feel that we should be seeing this here soon. Let me zoom in here. And I'm talking about the eruptions as far as something happening here soon. Earthquake activity, it has dwindled off here in the last 12 hours or so. Well, this is the last 12 hours, but maybe the last 6 hours been kind of a little bit more mellower. Just some very small earthquake activity. Here's some fluid movement, magma movement, and that was earlier this morning. We'll continue to watch that, though, and report back on anything that may change out there. Definitely could start off 2024 interesting. Kind of ending it with a large X flare, so why not start the new year with something spectacular? Let's see what else we got here. Some earthquake activity into the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, 4.5, coming in a couple hours or so ago, 35 kilometers deep. Super deep movement down here in a 3 fashion, 3 moderate earthquakes here, well down into the subduction zone, 400, 500 kilometers or so into that area. We'll watch further regions here for some movement across this plate boundary. Let's see if there's anything else going on here across the earthquake 3D globe that is of noteworthy value. Nothing too active going on down there across New Zealand for now. A handful of earthquakes across Turkey today. Some 4s and, well, 3s, and it maybe even looks like a 5-pointer in there. So that's some older movement throughout the day today. Let's see what else we got here. Seismograph stations. Little earthquake here in Japan, it looks like, showing up on that seismograph station. Let's see. Doesn't look like it's being reported yet here across the area, but it doesn't look too big either. So just some minimal movement there for now. What else do we have here? Storm Prediction Center. Any severe weather out there? Not right now, but as we head towards the middle of January, we're looking at some much colder air coming in down from the north and creating the potential of, well, obviously some snow, colder temperatures, and maybe the possibility of some severe weather. Next storm system out here in the west coast begins, looks like Tuesday and the Wednesday, with some snow up in the higher elevations and some rainfall there across the northern California region. And another storm system as we head into next weekend, some colder air coming down. Notice a lot of blue showing up here on the map. That is a cold blast coming down right out of the north. And let me show you guys here the temperature anomalies here as we head into. I just heard a firework just outside the window here. Well, maybe not outside my window. It'd be much louder. Okay, but watch this here as we get some pink, purple colors coming down. That's some much colder air, much colder than normal, hitting into the west coast area. Look at that right there as well. Lots of colder air coming in, but it's right there as we see a huge blast of colder air coming down straight out of the north into the northern plains, reaching down potentially into Texas, around the panhandle areas. That could spell a little bit of trouble there for maybe some snow. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Total snowfall. Now this is, this may be a little bit out there, but this is showing the potential of some snow out here across the Four Corners area, Southern Plains, stretching up across the area. A lot of cold air coming in as we head into the middle of January. So we'll watch this pretty closely. Precipitation. Now these colder storms that come down out of the north are not huge rainmakers out here in the Sacramento Valley area. Here in the valley, you can see it in the blue. Mountain ranges will get a little bit of snow, and of course the Coast Range over here around Crescent City, Eureka, will pick up quite a bit of rain. Pacific Northwest getting in on quite a bit of precipitation as well. Areas around the south and the eastern portion of the country, looks like that's typical El Nino pattern up here, bringing in some much above average precipitation here across that region. Definitely continue to watch that. And that should remain the pattern here, I think, for the remainder of, at least the next couple months or so. We'll have to see what plays out the later half here of January. But it looks like the pattern change here, much colder temperatures coming down into a good portion of the country as we enter into the 2024 year. Goodness. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity here. Yellowstone, that movement right there kind of looks like it's, it's hard to say if that's shown up here or not. This may be different. I don't know if this is geyser activity or not. Could be, potentially. Maybe showing up around Old Faithful as well, but not a whole lot of earthquake activity for now. Again, a look at, whoa, that little blip here that I was looking at has been squashed by a much bigger earthquake there across Japan. Remember, I was just chatting about this one right here? Well, we had another bigger one come in, it looks like, and pretty much squash that one. There across the Japan area. There we go. A 6-pointer right now just coming into the Japan area. That would explain the signature very nicely. It looks like it's been downgraded to 5.9, but this is kind of preliminary data. This earthquake just coming in to the region. These guys are showing a 5.5 near the west coast here of the Honshu, Japan area about 10 minutes ago. But let me see if it's been reviewed yet. They have not been reviewed by a seismologist, so this could get upgraded. It could get downgraded. It will be reviewed and updated. USGS not reporting anything on it yet, but that's a pretty heavy-duty signature there on that graph. If it was anything bigger than a 6-pointer, we would see that show up across some stations here. But Philippines may pick it up if it's something bigger than the 6-pointer, but hard to say. Either way, it looks like some earthquake activity coming into Japan right now. Whether it's a 5.9, 5.5, originally came in as a 6-pointer. I guess we will see. Either way, a little bit of shaking going on out there across that area of Japan. So we'll catch you guys back here technically next year. I mean, it's my time. We're still in 2023. Hope everyone has a good, safe night. There's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself and partying it up, and enjoying the new year. But you got to do it safe, man. That's for sure. A lot of people out there, unfortunately, putting, some wrong decisions out there when they're drinking and driving. It's not good. Not going to go into preaching about that, but I just don't like seeing stuff like that happen in terms of the unfortunate events that take place when people do that. Not worth it. All right, folks, we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow for the January 1st, 2024 update. Just got dropped down here to a 5.7. That kind of looks like, I don't know. Now the Philippines is picking it up. A little P wave coming in there to the local seismograph station there. So Philippines a ways down here. So I'm thinking this is going to get upgraded a little bit from that 5.7. More likely going to figure out around a 6.0 or so. But we're not seeing anything shown up yet from the USGS. But I say a 6.0. Kind of looks like it's more of a 6-pointer. Have a good one. Be safe out there, folks, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow sometime. Have a good night. Stay safe out there. And Happy New Year.